Okay, welcome back to round 2 of the regional I had last weekend. I'm not sure what I'm playing up against, so we're gonna find out pretty soon. He rolls a 7. This is like my only issue with the deck of playing a 60 card build. It's just a shuffling. It takes a bit longer than usual. So I roll for and I get an 8. So I'm like, awesome! I get to start. This is great. This is what you want.
Autopilot standing by.
My hand's pretty busted. I have access to both engines. I have Speedroid for Crystron. I have Enchantress for Right. And I'm debating whether I play around Droll. And I feel like this is probably the best way. Because if I go Enchantress, search for Rights, my only synchro play would be with Coral. You know, and then I guess I have access to my right, but I think post Droll, like he didn't have Droll, then Ash would be like the main issue. So I want to bait it with that now. So I want to make, okay, so this will bait the Ash if he does have it, because he's kind of like aware of what the engine does. It'll give him access to an Omni, so might as well Ash it. And then luckily I have Tactics, so I just Tactics rip his threatening hand trap, because I feel like Valor on Sulfador will be way more devastating than him ogreing Sulfador, you know. And either way, I can play around the Ogre Destruction, because I'm gonna go for my Cherubini, and basically any monsters in the Cherubini zones cannot be destroyed by card effects. So then I just go for and send Smyger. And then I'm not trying to sequence in a way where I don't know what's happening. I just looked at his hands. So I shouldn't be cautious about it, because I know exactly what his hand is. So I'm going to go ahead and get Inclusion. And go for Sulfador. And then we're just going with the motions here. I'm getting Sulfador. And Tactics is just insane. Sometimes it seems like it's a bit unfair. Summon, I put it in the zone, because in case he tries to like Ogre, it won't affect it, right? So we'll send here, and he's thinking about it, whether he Ogres or not. And then I'm like, oh, he probably doesn't know what Cherubini does. And that was like my initial thought when he said thinking, and he just decides to just not do anything. So I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe he does know, you know. So then I send my Sofafnir and my Theismern. And then I'm going to Synchro. Be mindful that whenever you Synchro, make sure you don't put it in the zone Cherubini points to. Because then you won't be able to pop it with your Staros. Yeah. So he's debating on Ogreing this. I mean, if you Ogred this, it wouldn't be too much of an issue. Because, like, I still get to revive itself and still get to get my, you know what I mean? I can still be, I'm still able to end on my board. So it would be a lost interaction. It would be very redundant. So there's no point into doing it. So I go ahead and summon my 2. And then off of Trishal's Grave Effect, always try and summon a 2 and a 5. Don't summon 2 5s, because you'll be more impacted by Nibiru. Yeah, just double checking if I can summon itself off of the Grave Effect. Like, the field effect you cannot. Only Grave Effect. And then I'll ask to revise any Crystron from Bastard Grave. And then I go ahead and set up my Infinity under the Cherubini protection, because I know he has Ogre. So once I get to the point, I feel pretty secure. And then I go... I appreciate Revive for the Inclusion. Inclusion Revive. This allows me to set up the Corin Gandrax. Or it just lets me have a float. Right? If for whatever reason something happens to something, and then I can just have this body just float into C3. C3 then synchros again, you know what I mean? So it's not completely helpless. So then I set and pass. And I know his hand. It's a matter of what is a new card he drew. And he draws into Sylvia. This is when I find out he's playing okay, yeah, chain that just to ensure I can play around the potential extension, because I know he has Tails. Yeah, he has Tails and Ogre and Thrust. So I want to make sure I can just get rid of the body, so he won't be able to extend, right? So then I go summon this, because Tails, the spell that searches a White Force card, it requires him to have a spellcaster. Then I go ahead and banish that, and he's contemplating for a bit, and then he just allows it, and then he goes Thrust, and then I just I know he has Ogre. I read the spell real quick just to make sure what it does, and then I just negate it. Yeah, and then he just ends up scooping. Yeah, it was my hand was pretty insane. I mean, his hand was good too, except Tactics is just an incredible card. Being able to snipe a hand trap that can potentially stop you is insanely powerful. It just punishes interaction, which is I guess it depends on their perspective. If you lose because of it, majority of the time, of course you're not going to want it to be legal. But if it saved you majority of the time, you're going to be for it. You're going to be inclined to
Dual mode engaged.
appreciate it a bit more. And my hand's pretty busted again. I have Droll, Veiler, Imperm, and Engine. I'm like, wow, this is an insane hand, because White Force don't like Droll at all. Like, they can't really play around Droll. Like, they can't. It's really difficult. So then I drop the Droll, and I'm like, this is awesome. This is like freaking insane. I'm like, this is good. Like, all I need to do is just draw into Tear Top or Ride or Adventure Engine, and this is great. But I draw into another Smyger. I'm like, okay, 2 normal summons is not that great, but we'll try to link it off and then bait with the Smyger effect in the graveyard, because I already have inclusion anyways. So I summon, and he's thinking about it, and he activates his Woes. And then that will summon a White Force from his deck, and then Synchro summons with monsters he controls. So he summons LZ, and then he synchros with Azamina into the Severa. So Severa, basically, when it's synchro summoned, you can flip all the monsters your opponent controls face down, which is a pretty insane synchro. I think that synchro is pretty cool. And does piercing damage as well, which is, it can come up. We've been playing it on Master Duel. It's like pretty awesome, getting a Royal Rare. So then he gets access to his Deception for follow-up. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I do now? I'm like, well, I just go for Sofafnir now. I go Sofafnir, floats, right? But then he activates the trap that bounces for every fusion synchro that is a fiend, spellcaster, or illusion, right? Azamina Aphies or Aphies. So I set 2 and pass, and I'm like, hopefully this could get me by, having a Veiler, having an Imperm. So he goes for Deception. Deception sends Rusia, which can be summoned back at any time, because he can just return the synchro on field, or whenever he links it away, or if he synchros it away, he can just bounce it to the extra deck. And then he goes into Hollowed. Hollowed then sends the Deception, so you can fusion summon. And usually people don't really play this card. They don't play Soul. This one basically it's like it can, upon summon, it can send a card on the field to the graveyard. So I end up Veilering it, because I want to make sure I can keep the Imperm in case I am able to survive, and just keep it, because I can't use Veiler on my turn. I can use Imperm on my turn. So I want to make sure I preserve it, because I don't need to use it unless I really have to, and I guess I'll have to deal with whatever the board he ends up establishing. But if I can find a way to preserve this Imperm and use it on my turn when I'm trying to make my push, then that would be preferred. He activates Wanted, gets Witch. It's pretty cool. Hollowed chain Wanted, then send a Wanted for the material of Hollowed. It's insane. It's so free. And then now he just synchros into what I assume it's Queen, right? Queen adds back a spell trap from the graveyard if you used a synchro as a material. And then whenever I activate a card or effect, you can chain a response, kind of like an SP and Tresaurus. He can summon, he can send a spell trap from hand or field and summon a tuner SYNCHRO from his extra deck. So I'm like, I'm in trouble, I think, because I think he has a lot of damage because he has the white force cards in the graveyard. Sylvie, he has Rusia that he can push for extra damage, kind of like Snow does, and then on Machado, where like you think you live, but then in battle phase they use Snow effect, revive it, and attack for game. It's kind of annoying, but yeah. So then he goes battle phase, attacks with Witch. I'm like, that's fine. And then he just swings with everything else. And then this is where he goes effect of Sylvie, returning his SYNCHRO, and then I end up scooping because it's over. So I thought my hand was pretty good. I thought I was gonna be okay, but apparently not. So then I go and put back my adventure engine because you only really need one ride. You know, you don't need that many rides because you can just have access to it through your Terror Top. So I put back that, and I take out the board breakers, which is Storm and Duster, and I just leave my deck as standard, basically. So I think the deck is consistent enough to be able to
engaged. Autopilot standing by.
To grind. And my hand is quite awful. Like, what is this hand, bro? What is this hand? I open up Talkatom Borg and Sea Tree, man. That's like the bricks of the deck. You just don't want to see them. So I start with the right, fortunately. And right here, I'm debating whether I want to play around Droll or I want to play around Ash. And I think playing around Droll was kind of my main concern, because if I go add, if I add, he Drolls me, I can still establish something because of the C-Tree that I have in my hand. I can dump the trap, I can go for a Lesk, but then he ashes it. I'm like, oh, it's annoying. What I was going to do is search a Lesk and then search, assuming he didn't have Droll, and then discard the Sofador for the Fateful Search at Griffin. So I'm gonna be playing with just Adventure, and I'm trying to get to a point where I can get at least 3 interactions, because like that's something you want to have at the very least in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! At least 3 interactions. Like 2 is rarely enough. 3 is just like the average, yeah. And since my Griffin's a win, I can special to Talkatom Borg, which is awesome. And I was debating on what I wanted to go into. I was like, do I go Hogoida to level module so he won't go into a 6s, you know? But I just go up against that, and I just go for basic SP. And SP is just great because I can get rid of the tuner, the non-tuner, because we're fairly aware of what this deck is capable of doing. So if you can get rid of the level 2, this LZ Azamina, that'd be great, because that snowballs out of control. He activates Tails, which is something that I'm going to chain to. Get rid of the Azamina, and then I can negate the extender, right? Whether it be Sylvie or LZ, I negate that with the Griffin. And then if it gets to a point where he ends up going for a Deception line, then I know that it's going to be a grind game, because it's going to be just an Omni. That's all Deception gets him access to. So then he opens up with, he follows up with Sylvie. And I'm debating whether I want to negate this or negate something else. But then I think I negate with Imperm, and then I'm choosing to negate the LZ with Griffin. So then he ends up passing turn. And I draw into Nibiru. I'm like, okay, this is my fallback plan. If my Griffin's not enough, if my SP's not enough, then at least I can simplify the game and drop the Nibiru, and then we're both top decking, right? That's kind of the idea. That's kind of the theory behind that. And then I just go Fateful Search, search Enchantress, and then discard a card, discard her, and I use her to get another right. Just play around Droll and future turns, because that means Fateful can search Griffin itself and not have to like search, you know what I mean? And then I just go battle phase, It's I'm liking my odds here. I'm liking my position. I'm gonna clear his board. I essentially have the same setup as I did. I end up setting the right just to bluff, because if he thinks I drew into something, right, he might think that right's in my hand, so it might not telegraph that I have nib. So that's why I did that way. So he draws into wanted. I'm like, okay, okay. So my main concern is just making sure that I don't let him synchro. Us synchron players are well aware. That's what we do. If they're going up against us and they have spot removal, we're in trouble. So we gotta make sure we can spot removal. So right here, he's debating on whether he wants to use the effect of Witch, and then he chooses not to. And I'm like, okay, well, I get to live guaranteed, right? So I live, because he's gonna go battle phase, attack over my Griffin, which in hindsight, maybe since I knew it wasn't over or it wasn't game, maybe I should have just gone in defense, because I knew that was a possibility. So then he summons Sylvie, and then I'm debating on whether I want to interact with this. And then I'm like, no, it's fine. I think I'll SP something else. And he adds a Woes, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. This is cool. So then he activates LZ, discarding the Woes, and then I'll go SP banish the Sylvie. And then this puts him in Nibiru range, because it means he has to extend, right? There's no other option but to extend. And that's what I want him to do, which is the whole point of this. I mean, that Nibiru that was pretty insane, for sure. He specials. Still not quite 5 summons yet. And he's going to go for Arciela. Arciela can send a spell trap from hand or field to add a white force card or a light spellcaster. And this is where I assumed he was going to go for the Azamina. And that's all you want to kind of prevent. You want to prevent for them to get to this point where they synchro into Arciela, and then synchro with the new LZ, which can be quite annoying. So then I dropped the dip here, and I'm like, okay, it's simplified now. So now what else can he do? Because he has a revive, and I give him the token, but right away he links it away for a link spider. I'm like, okay, I'm not liking where this is going. I'm like, did I just lose? Because until this point, I wasn't sure if he was playing Fiendsmith or not. So I'm like, what is happening here? And he gets to a point where he's like, 2 buttons on board, and I thought he was gonna pass. And he and then he lifted, and then he started to lift up his cards. I'm like, oh crap, okay, I think he is playing Fiendsmith. And he's link summons into Moon. I'm like, oh no, I think I just lost. I mean, because Deseret can clear my nib. And I'm not sure if he knows that set is right, because I added it last turn. So I'm not sure if he does know or not. Maybe he forgot. But I was going off of, maybe he forgot I added it, and maybe he thinks it's something else. But if not, then he's just gonna play freely, which is like it's so like helpless. I can't do anything. Like, okay, he knows what it is, so I can't bluff my way out of it. So he goes for Raccoon effect, equips the Engraver, and sends my Nibiru to the graveyard through Engraver's effect. And he goes sequence, and luckily he already went battle phase. So I'm not really stressed out about that. Now it's a matter of, okay, I have a guaranteed Typhon 9 next turn, so I should be okay. Now it's a matter of, we're both top decking at this point, right? Because if it gets to a simplified game set like it is just now, I need to draw engine. I need to find a way to get back into this game and take control of it. Because my Griffin's gone, so I can't add it. I can't add that. So I just have a set right and SP coming back. So then he goes for Numday. Numday revives the Deseret, equips itself, and then pumps his attack. So it's huge. This Deseret is huge, and I can't target it. But luckily for us, Typhon does not target. End phase, we get our guys back. I jumped to Smyger. I'm like, yes. I was like, yes. And I contemplated a bit because if you remember, you can only make Typhon with the highest attack monster that you control. And since the highest attack would be the token 2K, we can't make Typhon with the token, so you can't make Typhon. So that's why I took this route, because I can simplify it in a way where he still has the on the negate, right? He still has Desiree negate. So I need to make a decent setup where I can have a pop to his top deck, because he has no more Fiendsmith cards. So I feel like this should be enough, right? Him having to clear and deal with the Typhon and deal with the cluster. Because another thing I could have done, possibly, is go into my Fateful, activate right, Fateful, search Enchantress, special Enchantress, and then try to snowball from there. But I'm not sure if he would have used Desiree or not. But I felt like this might have been a safer play. So then I go attack, and he's on top deck mode, and I'm like, I should be fine. Like, what one card can get him out of this? Because I have a cluster that I could just pop in his synchro attempts. So now I cut his deck, and I'm like, well, let what'll be will be. And I'm like, what? The suspense is killing me here. I was like, oh, what the hell? And he activates Wanted, but I'm like, wait a second. Does he have any Sinful Sports cards in his grave? Because if not, then it should be fine. Because even though if he gets Deception access, I can just pop the Deception. And there's nothing in his grave, and he scoops. That was wild.
Well, it depends if you negated it or not, right? Yeah. And then I could have gone search another Enchantress, and then this would have gone into Cherubini, and then get into Crystron.
Oh, so like you should have done that before linking up this one.
Yeah, like baited with this first, and not show you that, Yeah,
it was honestly just up to whether you're playing Typhon or not. If you're not playing Typhon, I win. If you're playing Typhon, I lose.
Yeah. But, yeah, you almost had it, you know, shit.